Yeah. Cam Boozer, Cooper Flagg, phenomenal basketball players, elite. But have you met AJ Dybantsa?
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host today, Isaac Shade, and I want to thank you for tuning in to make us your first listen or watch every single day. In a time where, man, some sports desks around the nation are struggling, I love it that we get to be here all the time doing what we do, and that's because of people like you tuning in. Thank you. Let's keep this thing going, man. It's so much fun. Coming up on the show today, unfortunately, seriously, I'm not joking. I know it sounds like a broken record, but there's more Bob Huggins stuff to talk about today. Yes. Also, the Mountaineers lose another one of their players late last week. James Okonkwo committed to North Carolina. We'll talk about that. But first, I want to talk about AJ Dybantsa. And this dude, my word. So, Peach Jam ended over the weekend. Yesterday on the show, if you watched it, you already know this. If not, you need to go back, check it out. Andy Patton and I had a great discussion about Cam Boozer and Cooper Flagg and which one we would rather have right now to be like the cornerstone, the building block of a team or a franchise or whatever it was. Well, today I want to keep going with this Peach Jam conversation so that we can keep learning more about some of the players who will be joining us in college basketball in the next several years. So while Flagg, they are clearly the dudes in 2025, and there's some other dudes in 2025, I should say as well. There is someone who is potentially even better coming in the class behind them, and that's AJ Dybantsa, who is in the class of 2026, meaning he is just a rising sophomore. And you're like, seriously, Shade, we talking about some rising sophomores right now? Yeah, we are, because he's legit and ridiculously good. I know it's, another several years before he would even be in college, but just bear with me. So listen, at EYBL, at Peach Jam specifically, the culmination of EYBL, Cooper Flagg, Cam Boozer, they're the talk of the town, and deservedly so. They were killing it. They were, honestly. But they were doing so in the 16s group at Peach Jam. Our man AJ led Peach Jam in scoring while playing with the 17s group, despite having just finished his freshman year of high school. You catching me? Flagg and Boozer doing it up. Unbelievable stuff with the 16s. Dybantsa, who just finished his freshman year, going to be a sophomore, is doing it against rising seniors. So I want to make sure you're catching what I'm saying here. This dude, the elite of the elite basketball players in high school, are squaring off. And this kid who's going to be a sophomore this year lit up a group of seniors. Now, to be fair, Dybantsa is 6 months older, actually, than Cam Boozer. So he's an old rising sophomore, but is younger than Flagg, only by a couple of weeks, though. So, I mean, technically, AJ Dybantsa could be a rising junior. But even still, even if he was doing this up at least 1 year and doing absolute work against those dudes. So you need to know this man. You need to know his name because he is ridiculous. So why is it that we are talking about a rising sophomore today? Great question. So again, remember yesterday we posed, would you rather take Boozer or Flagg to start your team with? The thing is, for me, as of right now, I think I would actually take Dybantsa over both of them. Now, I know some of that is potential. He has, 1 year further before he can get to college. There's other routes he could take earlier, whether it's going to elite or going to G League Ignite. Although if he did that, couldn't come to college. But and folks, it's not just me. Gary Parrish from CBS, phenomenal college basketball guy, was down there. Wrote about him for CBS Sports after Peach Jam. Adam Finkelstein, who is 247 Sports' director of scouting, tweeted that, quote, he's been as impressive as anyone at Peach Jam, talking about Dybantsa. Rob Doster, Field of 68, just raved about him in Field of 68's daily email on Monday. Jamie Shaw from On3 recently updated his high school rankings across all classes, not just like seniors, sophomore, junior, like every player in high school, and has Dybantsa number one amongst all of them. So this dude is not just turning my head. He is turning heads all over. He's turning every head imaginable, and everybody wants him. So that's why we're talking about a rising sophomore on today's show. So let me give you a little bit of his bio, and then I'll tell you more about his game and some other things, and then we'll keep on going. So Dybantsa is originally from Massachusetts, plays for Expressions Elite, which is a Boston-based AAU team, although he is transferring out to the West Coast this year to play for Prolific Prep out in Napa. Dybantsa's Peach Jam stats. You ready for this? 25.8 points a game. Again, that led all of Peach Jam. 5.6 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 1.2 blocks. He's a big wing type player, 6'8", 6'9", getting close to 200 pounds. I believe he's more in that like 185 to 190 range, but is going to keep filling out. And there's 4 major recruiting services we always talk about. ESPN, Rivals, 247, and On3. The majority of those haven't done their 26 rankings yet, but ESPN has, and they have him number 1. And again, as I said, On3's Jamie Shaw has him number 1 across every class of high school. So impressive stuff. So you're probably asking the question, what is it about him? Why is he so impressive? Well, it's because he can do a little bit of everything. He's a 3-level scorer. He's gifted with just that length that we look for. You know, so many of the NBA bodies that are these, these wings that we think of that are big-bodied wings, the Tatums, the Kawhis, the Paul Georges of the world, like those kind of guys that are just doing it and doing it really well. So that is AJ. He's long, and he's not just athletic, but he's also skilled. And that's an important thing to notice. A lot of guys are really, really athletic, but Dybantsa also has the basketball skills requisite to go with that. And that's a great combination. His body moves well. He's not, I often joke about some of these guys that are so big, tall, and long that are kind of a little bit more lanky, kind of look like a baby deer out on the ice, can't, on skates or whatever. That's not Dybantsa. He looks like he's put together. His body kinetically knows what it's doing. And so I love it. Watching some of his Peach Jam stuff, I saw him finish through contact well against Tyron Stokes, who's widely seen as the number 2 player in the 26 class. And Dybantsa just absorbs the contact and finishes in the lane. And who, by the way, Stokes also plays for Prolific Prep. So that team should be absolutely loaded this upcoming season. Make sure you keep your eyes on that. A lot of times when we think about these bigger dudes, it's like, well, yeah, he can get into the lane and finish. But again, I said Dybantsa is a 3-level scorer. His shooting stroke is sweet. It's pretty. He can hit from wherever. I mean, he's just a shot maker. It's wonderful. But go ahead, go cover him, get up into him. He's going to blow by you, dunk it, or drop off for somebody, or kick out to somebody and knock you off that way. And not to mention, when he is getting to the rim, he's a great free throw shooter, and he gets there to the free throw line a lot. And so there's just so much to like about what he's doing as, the age of like a rising junior. And so really, really excited about what he could possibly do. But how many times, I just want to give the cautionary word. You think about a guy like Amani Bates, who was crowned like, oh, this is going to be the dude way early on, and then wound up kind of being a bust at Memphis and then wound up, going back home up to Ypsilanti and playing not even for a major conference team. And I listen, my thing is I am always like, I want these young men to do well. I want to cheer for them. I want to see the best for them because I just want to see great basketball and I want to see great stories. That's why we're all here, right? Is to cheer for these young men who are doing this and for them to succeed. So I want to see Amani Bates do well in the NBA. But right, there is a little bit of a cautionary tale to that. So nothing is guaranteed, is why I say that about AJ or any of these other young high schoolers that we're talking about. But again, I'm hoping for the best for him. So what I love about this too is that there's a lot of noise about the 2023 class not being as strong as some of the others. So I think it's neat that, in that 25 class, we have Flagg, we have Boozer, who we can now spend a couple of years more watching and getting prepared for. I think that level of excitement being built up for when they hopefully come to college and don't go the pro route will be awesome. The same thing for Dybantsa is in when we get ready for him in the 26-27 season, unless he reclassifies, which is a possible thing, especially given his age. That we get to look forward for multiple years now to those guys coming and just imagine hopefully the growth that they will all have between now and then. And I think Dybantsa ultimately will end up in college. He has publicly talked about promising his mom to come to school for at least, not at least, for a year of college. And I, for one, am hoping for exactly that thing to happen because I think he can be phenomenal and will be. And he's clearly pushing himself by going out to Prolific. He's going to play against other elite talent. Everything I've heard and seen and read about him is that he is driven and is going to keep going. So make sure you check him out if you haven't done so already. Well, I kind of laughed about it earlier. It's unfortunate laughter, but it is laughter all the same because I keep thinking, you probably do too, that this West Virginia saga is going away. Well, it's not. Coach Huggins just cannot let it die. We'll talk more about that and dive into it in just a second. But first, this episode of Locked On College Basketball is brought to you by our friends at birddogs. Man, their shorts, they're going to make you look good this summer, whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're relaxing or being adventurous. You're going to look good in these shorts. Their stretch khakis, for example, are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. But they fit way better and allow for better movement than regular shorts made of stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed that issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so that you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice that movement. Also, Bird Dogs use anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or enter promo code lockedoncollege for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or promo code lockedoncollege for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take off your bird dogs all summer long. I promise you that. All right, folks, thank you once again, especially you everydayers, for tuning in with us to get the best information about college basketball every single day, even in the offseason. Make sure you tune in with us the rest of the week. Andy will be with you the next couple days along with Leaf Tulane, and then I'll be back with you on Friday's show as we get into the literal dog days of July. I don't know why I said literal. I don't even know what that literally means, but it'll be the dog days of July. Okay. Well, on Monday, after a weekend of Bob Huggins saying I didn't actually resign from West Virginia, that wasn't a thing, whatever, all this different information, Bob Huggins continues to toe that same line, to tell that same story. Because Monday saw both parties, Bob Huggins and his legal counsel, and West Virginia and their general counsel, trade letters once again, because Bob Huggins just refuses to let this thing go, whether that's of his own volition or that's being backed by his legal counsel. I can't say because I'm not privy, obviously, to the conversations they're having, but that's where we're at. On Monday, Huggins claimed that West Virginia did not, quote, did not handle the situation appropriately, end quote, and that he has a, quote, strong desire to conclude my career, end quote, at West Virginia. To which I say, well, sir, you have already done that. You have already concluded your career at West Virginia because the choices you have made and then the further torpedoing of all that now in the public sphere are not getting you back in the door at West Virginia. So you have a strong desire to conclude your career at West Virginia. Congratulations, sir, because that has already happened. So to that letter from Huggins and his representation, West Virginia's general counsel wrote back definitively rebutting that letter. And so that's where we're at. Let me read you some more from Huggins' letter that was published on Monday. He starts it by saying, the quote, the press has now seen the letter sent by my counsel setting forth my position that I never resigned from my employment as head basketball coach for West Virginia University. My attorney will address the legal issues relating to my purported resignation. I wanted to respond to WVU's statements and set the record straight on the past 2 weeks. And so there is something going on with his resignation, and it's all going to come back to this idea that West Virginia has of an employment agreement and how he did or did not go about properly terminating that. So let me read just a couple other things that I highlighted from his letter. Quote, I did not draft or review West Virginia University's statement, the one that came out where they said, Ren Baker and Gordon Yee, that he was resigning, etc. So, quote, I did not draft or review WVU's statement. This false statement was sent under my name, but no signature is included. In addition, the false unsigned statement was accompanied by a joint statement from the president and athletics director that clearly implied that they had received this purported resignation letter from me, end quote. Man, Andy and I said it yesterday. I'll say it again right now because of this. And again, this is new information since yesterday's show. Something is amiss here. So one side of this is wrong, is dead wrong, and is not telling the truth. And we don't know who or what that is yet. And so we got to figure this out. One or two other things that I highlighted here. Quote, I am employed by WVU pursuant to an employment agreement. And that's in caps. So that's like an official West Virginia thing. I never submitted the notice required under the employment agreement to voluntarily resign, end quote. So, there's just a lot of wrinkles to this thing. There's a lot of technicalities, obviously, when we're getting into the legalese of it. And that's where we're at. And Coach Huggins ends the thing by saying, quote, now that I have obtained counsel to review the employment agreement and have seen WVU's comments about my current status, it is clear that WVU did not handle the situation appropriately. More importantly, the basketball program is in need, and I have a strong desire to conclude my career as the head basketball coach for the program that I love. I hope to meet with WVU in the near future to resolve this situation, end quote. Man, that is yikes. So everything clearly centers around this employment agreement and how he did or did not submit this resignation. But here's the thing from me. You ready for this? Even if Coach Huggins were able to go through that and win out over West Virginia on some technicality about the validity of his resignation or lack thereof, whether he resigned or not. Great. Congrats. You've won that. West Virginia is still going to fire you for cause because they have a lot of it, especially now West Virginia has already shown that they aren't backing down. They're not going anywhere. They're not, they're not just going to say, oh, Coach Huggins is pushing back. We're going to lay down. No, they're going to stand their ground on this thing. And he's got to accept that. Because you hear what I'm saying? Like, okay, sure, great. Congratulations. Maybe you didn't resign. But even still, we're going to fire you now. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe he wants to get fired because that would come with some different type of severance package that could be better and more lucrative. Now, he's only got a 1-year contract, and remember that was reduced after the initial issues with the comments on the radio show. And so, maybe his general counsel, or not general counsel, his legal representation is saying, hey, if you can get this switched or changed, then we're going to be able to get a better settlement for you. Maybe that's what's in it. But for this man who's been in coaching for so long and has, surely saved so much money and other things, like he doesn't need that. So I just, man, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. And whether it's resign or get fired, one of them's going to happen, and you just got to accept it. I thought John Fanta said it well on Twitter. Let me quote him. Bob Huggins made anti-gay comments. He blew a 0.21 alcohol content level 5 weeks later, getting arrested for a DUI. He quite literally told his team he wasn't coaching them this season. Now he wants his job back and is ruining his relationship with WVU. Ridiculous and sad, end quote. Listen, that's short and sweet in what it is. And so, listen, Coach Huggins, I'm sorry, but this thing ain't happening. Like, you just got to pack it in, take your ball, and go home. It's over. I'm beginning to believe that Andy was incredibly right yesterday on our show, that this is just about money. Because if it was about legacy or reputation or whatever, this type of thing would have been handled previously and already talked about. This thing's done, man. It's over. And after everything that you've put this university through, this basketball program through, you're only making the whole situation worse for yourself and everyone involved in it. Engaging in a PR battle in the public sphere is just not the way to go about doing this thing, man. It's time to drop it. It's time to move on. Coach Huggins needs to save whatever face and whatever legacy he has left, and save any more disgrace that he might heap on this university that he claims to love. It gets to a point where if you truly want the best for this university, you got to realize it's time to walk away. That's where I'm at. Another part of this is that we're going to keep losing guys in the transfer portal. Obviously, they only had that 30 days. But man, now I hadn't even thought about that, but now that comes into question. Is it, well, I guess West Virginia moved, so it still is that 30 days. But you know what I mean? Like, that gets messy with all of this as well. But anyway, late last week, James Okonkwo committed to North Carolina. West Virginia transfer, James Okonkwo, I should say, doesn't move the needle for Hubert Davis and the Tar Heels, and what will he bring to their team? We'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, late last week, James Okonkwo, a transfer from West Virginia in the wake of all the Bob Huggins stuff, decided to commit to North Carolina. Interestingly enough, Okonkwo is an Englishman and was actually in the midst of trying out for UK's under-20 FIBA team competing in the European Championships. He had scheduled a visit to North Carolina for July 24th. Clearly, as you're hearing this, well, if you're hearing it on the day it comes out or seeing it on the day it comes out, it's July 11th. But yet he's already committed to North Carolina. Apparently, he saw and heard everything he needed to without even visiting campus. And so pretty crazy stuff there for the Tar Heels. But listen, this is what happens in this era of the transfer portal. I know I can remember back that Brady Manick did that with North Carolina, having not yet visited campus as well. And so Okonkwo is off competing in the FIBA championships right now. And at some point after that, we imagine he will take a visit to Chapel Hill and ultimately sign with the Tar Heels. The question, this is great. Okonkwo is a 6'8", kind of bouncy, long forward, and is going to provide great depth for the Tar Heels. He's somebody that at West Virginia didn't necessarily play a ton, and did though have some good like block percentage numbers, good offensive rebounding percentage things when he was in, and the way it translates out if he does get more playing time. You're looking at some potentially good stuff there. I think where this is for North Carolina, where I would say it is for North Carolina is not somebody who's going to come in and start or get a ton of time this year. And again, because he does have multiple years of eligibility left, just finished his first 2 years at West Virginia, and in fact was a reclass 2 years, and so it is ahead of the game that way. But I project him obviously to be behind Armando Bacot, behind Jalen Washington, although he's going to bring something different to the Tar Heels front court than Jalen Washington, would bring. He'll battle with the other guys because I believe he could play either forward position for Hubert Davis's team. Right now, I've been projecting that Harrison Ingram will be the starting four, the transfer from Stanford, as kind of a small ball power forward in this style that most of us are projecting that Hubert Davis will want to play. And so Okonkwo will kind of be behind that. But as you look at recent history for Armando Bacot, he's had some injury issues. Big men are wont to get in foul trouble. But also I think that Okonkwo can provide some good pushback for Bacot in practices for North Carolina. Jalen Washington, the rising sophomore, doesn't have that level of strength on his body. And so to help prepare Bacot for when he goes up against bigger guys like DJ Burns from NC State. And so that is a big win for the Tar Heels. In terms of, does it move the needle for the Tar Heels? It does in terms of depth, but it doesn't in terms of moving up the preseason rankings. I project that the Tar Heels, when we see the AP poll come out, will be ranked, but I would suggest in the 20s. And I think that's where I will have them as of right now, which is why I'm saying that's where I think they'll be in the AP poll. In terms of scholarships, it's this interesting thing we're seeing around the nation right now where teams aren't using all 13 of their scholarships because they're not going to play everybody, at least use them on scholarship level players, I should say. A lot of programs are going to be giving out more scholarships to walk-ons to reward them for what they've done. But I project this with the Tar Heels as of right now. Okonkwo will be the 11th scholarship, and they will have 2 left. And so this is where I think Hubert Davis and his team will land. So in terms of personnel for West Virginia, we're going to have to keep watching it to see who continues to come in and out for the Moutaineers and for Coach Josh Eilert in his first and maybe only season as the interim head coach of West Virginia. So that wraps up today's show, man. This West Virginia saga is just wild and wacky. I love having a summer soap opera for us to be able to talk about, though. Kind of intriguing stuff. I want to thank you again for joining us on today's episode. You can follow the show, Locked on Tar Heels, on Twitter at Locked on CBB. You can follow me at Isaac Shade. Please make sure to subscribe to the show, smash the like button so we know you are here, and comment on your thoughts on AJ Dybantsa or any of the West Virginia stuff going on as well. As always, my apologies to the lawyer family. Go Wildcats, and until next time, peace.